Hey, we're Attention Trading, a full-service digital marketing agency that helps small and mid-sized businesses with their strategic marketing efforts. From websites, design, social media, and ads, our goal is to create marketing alignment for our clients. You may not realize it, but the majority of businesses lack a solid marketing strategy and plan. That's where we come in. On this show, we talk with business owners, founders, and marketers to uncover the secrets of their success when it comes to starting and scaling a business. This is the Attention Trading Podcast. What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Attention Trading Podcast, where we talk with CEOs, owners, founders, and marketers about how they grow, scale, and operate their business. My name is Max Lowy. I'm here with my co-founder of Attention Trading, Steve Alves. Today, we're joined with Diane Ayres, founder of PorchLight Rental and Destination Services, a high-touch relocation and settling in company, helping individuals, families, and corporate transferees land well across the U.S. and Canada. PorchLight doesn't just find rentals. They create soft landings, from neighborhood strategy and school guidance to lease negotiations and lifestyle integration. Diane and her team bring clarity and confidence and a peace of mind to one of life's biggest transitions. Under Diane's leadership, PorchLight has become a trusted partner for families and global mobility professionals who understand that relocation is more than logistics, it's emotional. Diane, welcome to the Attention Trading Podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's very nice to be here.
Awesome. Now we're really excited to have you. And like we just said before, we kind of just jump right in usually, and we want to understand who you are, who our guests are. So give us a little background of Diane. Tell us a little bit about your journey here.
Well, the journey started a long time ago when I used to work for Club Corporation of America, and I was in public relations. That's what I set out to do as a youngster. And I met a woman there whose husband owned a business that did corporate housing. And that connection, after my position there at Club Corp, I spoke with him, and he brought me on as his first employee outside of his wife. And I just joined this small organization with the idea of having to expand that business. Corporate housing back in 1989 was pretty much not something that was widely known. And our competition was something like a Residence Inn. And this was transferring employees to something a lot more comfortable, almost like a vacation rental, but you could do it in any local city well before the Airbnbs of the world were out there. And so it was knocking on doors and talking to companies and helping them understand that there's a better opportunity for them to have a better lifestyle for their transferees. But in that journey, soon there were lots and lots of corporate housing companies, and then they all merged and some went public. And so I had the opportunity to sit at the table for a public offering and be part of an IPO, which was an absolutely awesome experience as a business person. And I worked for a public company then. So I went from a very small organization to then merging to this IPO, all of which the founder of the company I worked for, his name was Rocco, was leading. So I was at the table for everything, and it was awesome. Working in a public company, though, was a whole different ballgame. So I had such great experience learning that, and quickly saw that hotel companies got involved and started buying those companies. They wanted to expand. Eventually, through a couple of acquisitions, different hotel companies, I decided to launch this new business. I got to see and build somebody else's business. I saw the IPO happen. I worked the public company. And I said, you know what? There is an area of relocation that is so underserved that I believe I can bring a solution to the market with the right team members around me, which is what launched PorchLight in 2003, because of all that is served in the relocation world, from home buyers and listers, and everybody needs their household goods moved. There was a solution for all of those things, but renters were still on their own to figure it out. And to some extent, they are today, because a lot of people don't talk about them still in this relocation world. And I've been doing this it'll be 23 years in May. So that's kind of the journey in a quick nutshell, but it's been a really amazing one, and happy to still be here to talk about it.
That's awesome. So that's super interesting that you were able to kind of see both sides, like the private, the public, mm-hmm. and be at the table, during that transition. I mean, not a lot of people get that experience. So that's exactly. Amazing that you were able to do that, and then also be able to bring those experiences into your business that you were launching, right? What I find
Exactly.
interesting about that story so far is you saw this gap, right?
Yeah.
23 years ago, and
Hmm.
it's still a gap. So that's super interesting, right? And so I
Yes.
guess in your mind, what's the reason that maybe people are not providing solutions, or why is that gap still there?
It's interesting, and I spent a lot of time on it in the last 2 years and some research that we've invested in at PorchLight to better understand that. But it really comes down to awareness. So much of the relocation industry is driven by corporate America. If you ask people who work in relocation, if they describe to their friends or family members, what do you do? It still is kind of confusing to them. But even more confusing is to think that a renter can have assistance anywhere in the country in finding a rental. And nobody knows that except those in corporate America or those in the relocation management business. They're aware that these services exist, but nobody else knows. So the real mission here is that we have to get this to the consumer level. People just have to have greater awareness, like you do when you go to move your household goods and you can get a U-Haul service, we know about Uber, we know about all of these household names now, and renters should just know that they can have that same support. Just like when you're buying a home, everyone knows that there's real estate brokerages all over the place you can go to and get a realtor. But when you're a renter, you're just kind of like, go it alone. There's no advocacy, there's no support, maybe a lease review, some protective measures before you sign a contract. And that's what we need to do differently, is create that awareness. And it's going to take a lot of change, some ways to really reach that consumer. And that's what we're working on, because it's still a void in America, not just in corporate relocation. It is truly a void across the country, in the US anyway.
So in the research you guys have had done, have you had any results that have come back who have shed some light on how you attract that kind of individual or how you market to them?
Yes, we're going to have to go to where they're looking. So, like you and I have talked SEO before, and how do we do this? And we've looked at the SEO, but when you're relocating, for example, nobody is Googling destination services. No one is, using the lingo that we use in this industry. And so we've
Mm.
seen time after time that we don't resonate there. So we're going to have to go to the apps and the websites that people are searching on. So whether that's an apartments.com, a Zillow, all the places where they're going to search, that's where we need to be available to them. And so that's going to take
Mm.
some investment, some marketing dollars to make sure that we're appearing where we need to.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was going to say, you have some of those big name players out there, and
Mhm.
what it, is it competition? Is it more so alignment with those brands? How do you create that message to that end consumer? And I guess for you guys, you have a few different touch points for an end consumer, whether it's the end consumer or it's the relocation companies that are assisting, right? And so, like, you kind of have a multitude of different customers, correct?
We do. We have different ways that business comes to us. At the end of the day, our customer is still the person who's going to rent. So some of them are relocating. Some are, in this case, I'm suggesting if you're moving a couple of cities over and you're a busy professional who doesn't have time to curate and find their own properties, wouldn't it be nice to be able to lean on somebody who can do all that for you and then meet with them on a Saturday, knock out seeing 7 rentals in a row, and you have your home? So our customer today is very much that corporate transferee, employers who are moving their people and usually affording them some type of dollar amount that they can put toward this. And there's an opportunity, of course, to amplify that message within corporate America and the importance of helping these people land well, as you opened up this conversation. Just because rentals are readily available on the internet, and just because you may only be signing a 1-year lease versus buying a property and making a bigger investment, the same kind of knowledge transfer is needed. You need that local expertise to learn the local area, to make good decisions quickly. And that's really what happens in a relocation. You get there and you need to know where to live pretty quickly. And then you're going to sign a 1-year contract, because that's how you get the best pricing. And then if you decide you're unhappy there, nobody wants to move again. It's like their worst thing to have to pack their stuff and move to another location. So doing this well the first time is really what we're all about. And whether that's somebody that's relocating and that's our common customer today, or the person that's moving 2 cities over, we really see an opportunity to do that better for people and provide them the kind of support they need to make that good decision and stay a while.
Yeah,
So
I'll say for someone that has grown up in the moving industry, moving is the worst, right? So
Yeah,
it's
it is.
Max says it all the time.
yeah, it is the worst, right? I was fourth generation mover at one point, and so I totally understand, and I can understand the emotional piece of it all for that end consumer. A question I have for you, because you are dealing with corporate transferees, like, is there something specific or not specific that companies kind of underestimate about relocating an employee? Whether that's
Yeah.
the positioning, whether that's the messaging, whether like, because again, you guys are high level, high touch to create that experience. So like, is there something in your opinion that they're just underestimating?
They're underestimating how quickly somebody has to get settled and have peace of mind in doing it. I think everybody's just so used to everything's on the internet, and that our younger population can figure this out themselves. And people can figure it out themselves. We can all go on the internet and find rentals that look really appealing, but it may not be in the best area, or it may be a terrific area, but doesn't fit who I am as a person. And that's all underestimated every day. Traffic patterns, where the construction is, just having a local, immediate advocate on the ground for you in a new location where you don't know people, having that resource be able to just answer questions quickly that says, yeah, I am down the right path. I am confirming I'm making a good decision, or I'm confirming this was a bad decision. I saw these beautiful properties online, but man, I'm not loving them in this area. And why? That's so underestimated. And then that local professional asks questions that the normal person isn't thinking about, especially if they haven't rented before or rented in a while. You bring that professional to the table and they're asking 3 additional questions. So you're like, oh, yeah, I should have asked that. That's all underestimated because it's a rental and it feels less permanent. I think people just feel like get them landed, they can get there, get the job done, but that's underestimated. So it's really about peace of mind and risk mitigation. And really those kind of go together. So if you feel really good about things, it's because you've mitigated your risks, but we can confirm that you have because we put those measures in place.
I have a question about the research portion of that, because given the size that you guys are and the vast area you guys cover, how does that research work? Like, let's say someone wants to move to Toronto, or they want to move to the middle of the West. They want to go to California, like whatever that is. Like, how does that work? Is it somebody are you training people on the team to research that entire area? Is there a list of like certain tenants? I recently bought a house. Like, I thought I knew what I was doing until I started working with a realtor, and I was like, wow, I missed a ton of stuff. So for you guys, like, how are you building that confidence with the people who you're engaging with based on the local experts you're referring to?
That is such a good parallel. I mean, that's a beautiful parallel to you already knew the market, like you said, but you bring in a professional and they bring perspective. And if they're
So
not
much.
doing that, then you quickly want to move on to somebody who will. So it really is about the value of the person you're bringing to the table, the value of what their knowledge is. And so we do this all over the United States because we have a local network that we've built over 22 years. I mean, you can imagine in 22 years how deep and vetted and experienced this group is. And so we have those resources. I just talked to a company yesterday who is moving 30 people to Dallas and 30 people to Orange County. And it's going to happen over the next 4 months. They've never done this before outside of their local area. And I can quickly tell them we have the best of the best in Dallas. We'll make sure these people are spoken to so that they understand what to expect. We'll listen to what it is they're looking for. We'll help them adjust where they need to fit their budget, things that they need for their lifestyle. And we can do that anywhere because we have the local experts that supplement my team. So my team knows how to set this up nationally and who to go to and who to lean on for that expertise. And we have all of the metrics and monitoring points in place to know if we're doing it well or not. So this isn't a fly by night. It isn't, hey, Mary Smith with XYZ agency, can you help me really quickly? I've got this move. No, these are people that are vetted. We have their performance reviews. We know exactly who they are and how they've supported our customers over the years. We also have a tool called Renter Analytics that helps us provide that summary of experience to companies that are hiring us. So I can tell you that all day long, Steve. If you come to us for support, I can talk to you about the fact that 85% of the people we work with are renting from properties we provide. That means we've done our job in really serving up the right locations, the right properties, and that they're happy with the overall outcome. The research you mentioned, the local experts are doing that research, but we also have our own internal research department. So there are times when people really don't want that local expert. They think they know the area, and maybe they do. They really just need us to dig in and do the listing work for them, because that's hard. Finding the properties, contacting them to make sure the information's accurate, getting those call backs because nobody answers the phone or emails. They're not going to answer your emails when they already have applications in on all of those properties. So you think, oh, I found this great place, but here we are 4 days later and you're still not hearing back from them. That's because it's been rented off of Zillow for 6 weeks and they just don't update it. So we do all of that lifting and research and help them get the information in their hands that makes them productive right away.
I have a really quick follow-up question, Maxwell. Once I knew you were going to jump in. So I'm a big numbers person, and I'm just super curious. Do you see any trends of people migrating to certain parts of the U.S.? Or, I mean, I've heard the West coming to Texas, like people moving south. Like, is there any sort of trend you've seen over the last, I don't know, 5 years since COVID?
Yes, with consistency, we have the most moves into California and Texas. But again, it's serving companies that are having that activity there. So that's real. What you hear on the news, what you think, it is confirmed that a lot of that activity is still going there to the West Coast and to Texas, specifically Dallas, but other areas of Texas as well. But then all the major metros also get that business. And then depending on, these AI data centers, they're going into some obscure areas sometimes. And so that's where we're seeing project business going in. And that's why what we do is so helpful, because you don't have to wonder, can we help you there? I wonder if they go into Racine, Wisconsin. Yeah, we do. So we're so easy for everybody to use because we can get the job done anywhere. And we have the resources either on the ground within our own employee set to get it done.
Love it.
Yeah. I mean, it's so, you brought up the point that just kind of like made me think and laugh to myself because, I consider myself a local expert to like Asbury Park because I've been here my whole life in New Jersey. And yet there's like there's new things that like someone's like, oh, we should go try this restaurant. I'm like, I've never even heard about it. Right. Because I'm like living in this bubble. And so when you think of like even a local real estate agent who has been successful in an area, they might not know.
Right.
So I think that one, you guys curating the team, the local teams, but also doing your own research and having that research team in-house. I think that's so clutch because it's just constantly updating, right? And you are getting the best of the best. And because things change all the time and you guys, your job is to be on top of those changes. So it's pretty cool. My question is, how do you balance, kind of that curation, that white glove customization and repeatable kind of framework for a company that says, hey, I have 50 employees that we need to relocate all to Dallas, or I have 2 that need to go here and 1 here. Like, what does that look like? Because at the end of the day, it is a custom solution for that individual, right?
It looks truly very similar customer to customer in terms of how it starts, which is really this. It's a conversation. Tell me, Max, what it is you're looking for. And it always starts with some level of distance from where you're going to be. Usually a workplace, right? If people are going to move for work, they're likely having to go into some kind of office or work site. And so people want to live within a reasonable commute. Typically that's 30, maybe 45 minutes. And now we're starting with some circumference, and then we kind of narrow it down from there based on lifestyle interests, budget, of course, the type of product they're looking for, the home they want. So if they want a single family home, those may be more abundant in one area than in other areas. So it all kind of dwindles. But it always starts with just listening, understanding what the customer wants, and making that appropriate expert match in the local market. And then we can serve up all of the right options that help people, again, move forward quickly with confidence, peace of mind. And that risk mitigation is very important for people, making sure they're not signing something they shouldn't or asking the right questions to make sure that they are protecting what they want in the end. And we can do that everywhere. It's just that easy. I know we customize it in what you're looking for. And I mean that, like, some people come and they need roommates because they can't afford where they're going to move. That is not uncommon and hasn't been uncommon since COVID because people weren't wanting to move, but they were being asked to move. So they were keeping their house in their location. And then housing became so expensive. So they're keeping this house. They've got to be on this project site for 2 years. So people were considering roommates who never considered that before. And then you have your traditional people who were always considering roommates because they're young professionals and they're moving out to an expensive area. How do we help them make that happen successfully. They still want to know they're living in the right area. They still have budgets that they have to maintain. So we help curate those options because guess what? Those aren't as easy to find. And so again, what do people assume? They just assume rental is easy. You can get online and find anything. Well, you can, but that doesn't mean you should, or you should move forward with what you're finding. And so we bring those protective measures together for everyone.
We're very far away from the days where, and I remember this, when you open up a newspaper and literally see what's available in that town.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
such a wild difference.
Yeah. They used to
Now,
put things on grocery store like bulletin boards, and people could like pull your phone number. I mean, now I'm really showing my age, but that was kind of like the college days when you were looking for that roommate situation. I don't think that's happening anymore, but I could be wrong.
So I've got and Max has a huge list of questions, and this stuff just pops in my mind while we're having this kind of conversation. So what I'm thinking about is like, okay, you have this repository of all this research. You have all these local experts. Is there a future where you build something for people that they can access directly and get a lot of this information, and that becomes, a one-time, buy-in, and they can get a lot of this research, and then you assist them? Or does that already exist for you guys?
It could exist better through AI. And so that's an opportunity for us. What always happens though is new information comes out or new properties come out. So there's always going to be updating to what we currently have. And you still are updating pricing because that can change daily. And so does availability. So keeping this inventory within our repository, I don't think is all that helpful, to be honest, because everybody's coming out at a different time. So if you're moving to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and we don't have another move to Pittsburgh for 4 months, sometimes that information is just really not helpful. It's just not updated. I shouldn't say it's not helpful. It's just not updated. We can always refer to where people are regularly trending, especially with one company who's moving people to a certain area. We can see a trend of those people where they might be living or something like that. So that's helpful, but it's always an updated situation. We have people contact us and say, hey, PorchLight, I have a home that I'd love to rent to, your clientele. And we're saying that's lovely, but one house sitting in Irvine, California that you're telling me today is available. When I actually have that need that matches up with what somebody wants, it could be 8 months later. I'm not going to contact you and keep that in a repository. I'm going to go to the listings that we go to see what's advertised. So it changes so frequently. It sounds like a great idea, Steve, but it obviously, practicality isn't perfect.
I was so curious because I'm thinking about there's a lot of standard content out there that's never changes. But then again, Max just said he lived in Asbury Park his whole life and he had no idea something already existed, right?
Exactly.
So yeah,
it changes. All right, so I'm gonna take this another way, right? So we're a marketing agency, which everyone knows, right? So I like to talk a little bit marketing here. So I always look at businesses and I look at them at all right, you've been in business 2 years, you've been in business 5 years, 10 years, 15, I've been in business 22 years. Something is working, right? And so, which also congratulations, because that's very difficult to be in business that long.
It is.
And do this, right? And so I want to congratulate you there.
Thank you.
Two, things have changed, right? Tech has come, platforms have come and gone since you started this.
Yeah.
What marketing have you done that either doesn't work anymore for the business or you've seen work really well for you guys specifically?
Yeah. Still calling directly on the people that need us most is the most effective way for us to market. And it's easy for us to, find those people because they're global mobility roles in companies and there are relocation management companies that we can easily identify and contact and work with. But what has definitely changed, and you know this because you're working with us on this, is all of the social media. And we need so much more of that. And now it's a matter of resources. And so I told you I came from an IPO environment and that public company environment. That's not what I choose to want to go back to. So could I take this to that level? I don't know that that's really in the cards anyway, but I know what public company looks like. I know what private equity could look like, which would be a similar environment. So I have to figure out how to scale this from a marketing standpoint that gives us more and more exposure on the social platforms, because these consumers are not going to be finding us in those traditional ways I just mentioned. We have to be on the Instagrams and the TikToks, and we have to have that kind of outreach for the consumer to really know we exist.
Yeah. Well, I think the end result, right, of what you guys, the service that you guys provide is one that it's super sellable in the sense of storytelling. And I think you can really connect with people because people have experienced, a bad move or a bad relocation or something negative. I mean, like I said,
Right.
moving is the worst, right? And
Right.
so I think if there's ways to tap in and really create that storytelling component across, a lot of the channels that you're pushing the message to, I think that you're going to be able to connect. Right? That said, I keep thinking of like, what does partnerships look like? How do partners come into play for your growth, and how do you market to those companies that are working hand in hand with you technically, and not just the
Sure.
end consumer? And so there's multiple ways to market, but I'd be interested to understand, where do you see your path going as far as what is going, or where you want to put the majority of your effort?
Well, we're working on that right now. So,
That's
um,
what the research is for.
exactly. So the research has confirmed the value that people find with this service, but they were only introduced through their employer. And those are people that had to pay for the service themselves, not just people that had their employer cover the cost. So that's an important part of the research to understand that people paid for the service, saw the value, and everybody really scrutinizes their own spend differently. And so for them to see that value and recognize the local knowledge and what that local expert brought to the table was important. So we do want to take that out to the broader public because, again, this market is bigger than transferring employees. People relocate all the time on their own, or people relocate through employers who are giving them no direction. Those are our general consumers. But I still go back to, there are people that go through divorces and all of a sudden they have to get a rental and they don't have any time. They're dealing with a lot of stuff and they would love to hire somebody to do this for them and do it well. And guess what? When that person's ready to purchase again, that might be a nice contact to have with a real estate agent. And so I believe we have to look at the bigger picture here. That average age of the first time home buyer is 40 years old now. 40 years old.
It's crazy.
It's really unimaginable in the United States of America, but that's what it is. And real estate agents don't have a lot of inventory to sell, right? We're all familiar with what's going on in the housing market. Even
Yes, we
if
are.
if interest rates drop, if housing prices don't drop, it's still unattainable to afford a home. In fact, I'm a believer that if interest rates just stay where they're at, that's fine. It's the housing prices that are the problem.
Right, because in the 80s and 70s, it was 17% interest rates on
Yes.
$60,000 homes.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. So the pricing is still the issue, and there truly is no solution for that. You can't build fast enough to change this inventory problem. But what you can do is serve your pipeline of people who do want to be home buyers. They can't afford it. So we need to meet and find those consumers, introduce them to this service that can help them, have an advocate in this process and make it easier for them, and then have them. That's basically an interview to the agent you might use for a home purchase, or it's a nice referral source for that agent. So you still may not be the buyer, but we all know that referral source is how agents build their business. And so I think there's a real opportunity to make this more available at the consumer level, have agencies buy into that. They do it today because I pay agents to do this service all over the country. I just don't pay one brand of agents. So
Right.
I go to the best in those marketplaces and they get paid to do this job. And then what if 2 or 3 years later, you are a home buyer and that agent says, I'm going to refund this service fee that you paid toward your closing costs. There's such an amazing opportunity to take this to a higher level. And that's what we're working on very aggressively at PorchLight. And that's what our research was for. And there's still more to come on that.
I
Yeah,
love
I
that.
mean, it's super interesting. And I think, we kind of just talked about it, but like the ability to buy versus rent right now, for really any generation, it's very interesting. It's a very interesting time to be in the market. And so, we've worked with agent realtors, and we've worked with brokerages in the past. And the ones that we've worked with, at least, like, they don't even want to touch rentals, right? And I think there's got to be like, it's kind of like a good thing and a bad thing, because it also helps a company and brand like yours to find the ones that understand that there is money to be made there, and there is like that relationship building piece to it.
There is.
Because like that's the consumer at the moment.
Exactly.
Right?
Let me tell you something you're not going to ask. So real estate agents pay for leads all the time. Are you aware of that? I mean, they are buying leads off of all of these different platforms. They buy the lead without knowing that they're ever going to convert. And what I'm saying is we're going to pay you to serve a lead. And if that lead never converts, you were actually paid to serve it. Think about that mind shift. But nobody is. And this is what I do. And so I can see that there is an opportunity here. The research will back that up. And the brokerages that are wise enough to see this opportunity and do it well and really embrace it as a lifetime customer opportunity will succeed in the end. So you didn't bring me on here to talk to you about how brokerages can succeed, but I am telling you, this is part of the puzzle, and it's part of where our marketplace is today. And again, that's not changing anytime soon. And anyone that tells you, oh, in the next 5 years, it's going to look this much better, there's just not enough inventory to make that happen. Now, if there's a market crisis and something we can't anticipate, like we had in 2009, well, that's a different story. That does change the dynamic a bit, but you still always have renters. They're still always part of our demographic and our population, and they're an opportunity to give them help and a service. So there you have it on your podcast.
No, it's definitely super interesting. Steve, I know you have a question that you typically like to ask all of our guests.
Well, before I ask that question, I have another really quick one that has to go off of what you do and again, back to the marketing piece as well. Like, this is a people business, right? Yeah. So you've got to have a ton of very happy people you've worked with in the past. Are you guys leveraging those people to produce content for you, whether that's like a small sit-down interview or a quick like testimonial that's video? Because you mentioned TikTok, right? So why are we not flooding your TikTok full of really happy customers, or even businesses you've worked with who have used your services for their employees to say, no, this is great, and being able to have that kind of testimonial? Are you guys doing that? Are you thinking about doing that?
We think about doing it all the time, and it's a matter of time and resources. And
100%.
we have put on like LinkedIn, for example, we've gotten people to give us videos, just quick 30-second videos about this was a great experience, but it's dedicating the resources to keep following up on that, to get that kind of content, to put that out. So that's really the challenge of any small business, but that's my challenge.
I hear you. And it's kind of a loaded statement, because in part I'm thinking to myself, well, it's very much a people business. People don't buy the service you're providing. They're really buying the emotion they see that other people have succeeded. They just want to know that when I hand you some dollars, I don't have to worry about this. Right.
And that you can trust what's going to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. They just want to see other people succeed and be like, this is a no-brainer. Why do I not just do this?
Exactly.
So, something we might want to talk about in the future.
Is that why you're recording this?
just for proof. So we always, the last question we like to ask in any podcast, it just stems from my experience in the past. I professionally grew up in a space where, I was trying to always ask people, like, how did you get to where you are now?
Right.
And more importantly, did you ever think that 12-year-old Diane would be doing what your today self is doing? Because 9 times out of 10, everybody's like, no, I thought I was going to be this profession, or, be an astronaut, or whatever that was at that age. Did you personally think that at age 12, you'd be doing any of this?
Well, this is a really good question, because I did an Ignite presentation for WERC a couple of years ago. And my Ignite presentation, I shared with everybody, because it's a very vulnerable place to be on that stage if you've not seen it. But in second grade, they went around the room and they were asking what you wanted to be when you grow up. And, you're always thinking you want to be a teacher, because that's what you see every day, or, you want to do what you see in front of you. And it got to me, and I wanted to be president. And
right.
I always had a political bent to me. Like, I remember, Nixon as the earliest president that I could remember. And I just always was interested, kind of a political geek. And so I just think it's funny that I am president, but it's not of the United States. I was president of this organization.
But, do you want to announce you're running in the fall for Senate or something?
I still had
Diane for president.
Yeah.
I need a little social media help for that too. But I always saw myself in kind of this role in some way. And I didn't see myself as a leader necessarily, but I just always had this kind of fire about me to take up a cause. And so when I did my Ignite presentation, that's really what it was. I wanted to be, moving something forward for a better cause. And for me, it's been renters. I didn't think it would be that when I was 12, but I just feel like I'm always advocating for them because in our relocation industry, they're rarely talked about. And I get it because they're not the most expensive part of the relocation process. Home buyers and sellers, they have more money that goes behind that, and companies have to pay attention to that line item. But renters are over 50%, actually over 60% of who moves, and they get 6% of the attention, maybe. And so that's my cause. And so at my 12-year-old self, I think I always had, like, I would take on something and be passionate about it. And that's what I am here. You can't tell.
See, all I just heard is that someone has aspirations to become the director of HUD and then vice president and then president.
Well, it's funny when you Google rental assistance, if you want to use the SEOs that we looked at, government housing comes up. So just maybe it's all supposed to be tied together there. But no,
honestly, like, again, that's why we asked that question too, because like you just never know what's going to come down the road, right? Like you've built this huge career, you've had a successful business, like you never know what the next 15, 20 years have in front of you, never know.
I really like the legacy of this to turn out that consumers really know that this service exists. Like now I'm kind of on that side of things that I feel like the 75-year-old Diane, what is she going to want? And she's going to want to know that she really created a category that helped people, that were kind of ignored. Like it was just an underserved opportunity here. And opportunity, I don't mean for business, but for the person using it. It's a really nice opportunity for people who have challenges like credit issues and multiple pets. It's hard for landlords to want to accept them in a highly occupied environment that we are in. And to have that kind of advocacy and support behind them and help them understand how they can do that well just reduces their stress immensely. And they don't have to go into subpar living because they have 2 dogs. They don't have to go into subpar living because they have a 550 credit score. We can help them get into a better place, but there is some investment they have to make in that professional support. And it's not much. It's just, again, the awareness and helping consumers just have a better way to approach their rental life.
Love that.
Love that.
So
any other zingers?
Typically, we end it with you telling us or telling the listeners, where can they find you? Where do you want them to look? Is it the website? Is it your LinkedIn? Like this is your plug right now.
All of the above, but PorchLightRental.com is our website. You can find me on LinkedIn under Diane Ayres, of course, and our website gives you info@PorchLightRental.com to contact us. They're welcome to contact me directly, just my first name, Diane, at PorchLightRental.com, and they will get a pretty immediate response.
That's awesome. Well, Diane, thank you so much for joining us today. We're really excited to share your story with our listeners, and obviously we're excited to help you continue to storytell and get your message out there, because like you just said, it's an important one that people just don't really talk about, and it's a community or a group that is kind of, it's the not the Wild West, but it's just like left behind. And so
left behind, ignored.
I think ignored, and no one should be ignored. And I think Diane for president, that's we're getting some pins made. I think
some shirts, some hats, some mugs.
Exactly.
I know who's running your campaign. I got it.
Well, I appreciate the platform and the invitation to do this. It's very meaningful. As we just talked about, awareness is so important to me. So I really appreciate the opportunity to do this. Thank you. Thank you for all your support over the years.
Awesome. Yeah, no, of course. And for everyone listening, thanks so much for listening and tuning in. Until next time, you guys have a good one. That's a wrap for this episode of the Attention Trdg Podcast, where we break down what's working in marketing so you can capture, convert, and keep attention. If you got something valuable today, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. For more insights and strategies, check us out at attentiontrading.com.